Hello, everyone. My name is Omar Homaidi, and I will be talking to you today about how to detect, stop, and respond to digital fraud in real time. Digital transformation has taken off for some time now. However, in these unprecedented times, organizations had to accelerate their digital transformation plans to avail their products and services online for their end users as fast as possible. Organizations already know that the equation is pretty simple. The more online services provided, the larger the revenue. By providing these convenient platforms to the end users, organizations would still need to worry about their end user security and make sure that only legitimate users are accessing these platforms and abiding also by the regulations set in the countries where these services are provided. If we get to think about it, ideally, users require several layers for trust, depending on the user's action, identified risks, and many other factors. Trusted users will acquire the maximum functionality provided by the application, where anonymous and new users will need to be verified before given full access. High-risk users, of course, need to be kept out. There are many technologies out there that are available and probably deployed in your organizations to help reduce the risk of fraud. And multi-factor authentication has been there for a very long time now. Something you know, such as passwords, can easily be compromised by tricking the user to think they are on the legitimate application while they are presented by a fake login page. In other words, it's what we call phishing. Something you know can also be compromised by malware, which can penetrate the end user's device in multiple ways. Remember, these devices are owned, monitored, maintained, and managed by the end user, and a simple antivirus might not even exist on these devices. If we take the second one and move to something we have, for example, a mobile device which receives a one-time password on a specific number, cumbersome authentication processes, some organizations try to maintain a list of devices that have been used to access the application. And if the organization and the application sees the device, it actually simplifies the login process. These devices are identified based on a number of attributes that actually simplifies the login process. These devices are identified based on a number of attributes that are exposed by the device, such as the browser type and version, the firmware version, the operating system version, and many others. Unfortunately, fraudsters use tools that are available online and for free to spoof these attributes to make their own devices look exactly like the legitimate user's device, which, in other words, tricks the system into thinking that this device has came to the application before. Social engineering and overlay attacks also has picked up big time lately as well. And our threat research team has taken the liberty to dig into the dark web and find examples of some overlay malware that is currently available for sale. And as you can see in the slide in front of you, some of the biggest names in our region have existing overlay malware that is targeting their applications. Unfortunately, fraudsters also no longer need to be tech savvies or even understand how an account takeover attack is executed. Fraud is now provided as a service for a few Bitcoins, and almost every attack is a targeted one towards a specific organization, which makes it hard for traditional protection mechanisms to keep up. Fraud service providers also no longer sell only a username and password. They also, as you can see in front of you, which is a slide that has been provided by our threat research team as well, which is a conversation between our team and one of the fraudsters, fraud services providers. You can see that they also provide many device attributes, and in some cases, they even provide the driving license or a scanned copy of the ID. That said, we at IBM needed to come up with a solution that can overcome all these challenges by providing a mechanism that is completely transparent to the user and does not change or interfere with the existing user experience, that will still detect and stop all types of fraud attacks, such as malware or account takeover attacks, which still complies with in-country regulations. So we needed to look at the solution from a different angle. We started addressing the problem by collecting data, analyzing it, and putting it in context. The first step is to uniquely identify the devices and generate a unique device ID for all the devices that access the application, whether it's a PC or Mac or a mobile device. Then we started correlating this information with the user's activity. An example here, if the user only is logging in or buying items or transferring money in the banking case, any activity that basically the user is doing. Then we start adding to that the network information. Are we seeing any risky patterns, known risky patterns that we know from other attacks that we've seen out there? Then we start building intelligence about the user's behavior. Are these known patterns to us that are good or bad, or we've never seen these patterns before? All of this intelligence gave us the ability to build profiles and baselines for the users, their devices, and their sessions, which allowed us to detect anomalies in real time without requiring the user to download and install any agent on their personal device. Remember again, these devices are owned by the end user and are not managed or maintained by your organization. Infused with machine learning and AI, IBM Trusteer Pinpoint helps prevent fraud during the customer lifecycle. From the moment the user starts creating his or her account, while they are logging in, and throughout the whole session, and until even they log out, IBM Trusteer Pinpoint Detect continuously assesses the risk and verifies the user's identity. So if a fraudster takes over the session after the user logs in, for example, a remote access attack, IBM Trusteer Pinpoint will be able to detect the anomaly and alert on it before any fraud occurs. IBM Trusteer Pinpoint consists of multiple components to suit the need of every organization. Pinpoint Detect helps prevent fraud by creating profiles for the users, their devices, and sessions to detect any anomalies. Pinpoint Assure, on the other hand, has been created specifically for organizations who do not require a face-to-face interaction with the user to create an account. Pinpoint Assure sits at the online account creation forum to detect and name and email anomalies, copy and paste commands, device history, just to call a few, to accurately predict if the legitimate user is creating his or her account, or if it's a fraudster creating the account on their behalf. Lastly, Pinpoint receives the feedback from Pinpoint Detect and Pinpoint Assure to provide a step-up authentication mechanism when a risky session is identified. All our Trusteer solutions that I mentioned work hand in hand with IBM X-Force to gain real-time intelligence and up-to-date information on the recent attack targeting different organizations. Of course, new threats emerge very frequently, and new features and functionalities needed to be added to protect against these attacks. That said, IBM Trusteer keeps gaining new features, such as behavioral biometrics. With behavioral biometrics, Pinpoint Detect creates a unique ID for each and every single user based on how they type on the keyboard, move their mouse or trackpad, and even how they use their mobile device. This ID is then fed into the same correlation engine to help identify users accurately. So let's see how it works. After collecting the data, this raw data is fed into our threat research engine. This engine consists of two parts, the machine learning and AI part, which processes the data to create what we call insights. Insights are simply making sense of this raw data to be able to understand what type of attack, if any, the user is facing. The other part of the threat research engine is the team sitting behind these algorithms, this AI, analyzing the threat market and continuously tuning the algorithms. Once these insights are created, they are fed into our fraud analytics engine, which also consists of two parts, machine learning and AI, and the team behind it as well. This is where our customers' specific policies are set and continuously tuned in order to give an accurate answer in real time about the fraud happening during the session. Attack vectors keep changing and new attack vectors are created very frequently. Our fraud analytics team help our customers stay up to date and ahead of the threats by continuously tuning their policies as needed. Once the assessment is completed, which typically takes a few milliseconds, IBM Trusteer will give an accurate recommendation. For example, allow or restrict. IBM Trusteer also will provide the reasoning behind this recommendation. In addition to that, all the raw data that we talked about earlier, we can also provide that as well to you. How is it deployed? For the web application, we will provide you with a set of snippets based on JavaScript technology with tailored instructions on where to place these snippets in your application code. Once the snippets are deployed in production, IBM Trusteer Pinpoint will start assessing all the web sessions and all the web traffic. Different technologies need different vehicles. Therefore, for your mobile application, we will provide you with an easy-to-deploy SDK, which in other words are some libraries that will allow you to perform on-device risk assessments and get the feedback from the Pinpoint server directly. And since the SDK would be sitting on the mobile device, we are able to do much more. A risk assessment of the mobile device can be executed on demand to check the device health. If there exists any malware or an SMS stealer on the mobile device, which can be used to grab the user's credentials and one-time passwords, if the device is jailbroken or rooted, or if a root hider is used. Moreover, the mobile SDK prevents farming attacks by validating the IP addresses and SSL certificates. It also completes the coverage for IBM Pinpoint to have a holistic view of the user's devices, behavior, and session. To summarize, IBM Trusteer starts by collecting the raw data, analyzing it using machine learning and AI, and creates profiles and baselines for the users and their behavior, their devices, and their sessions to give accurate recommendations to our customers to detect and stop fraud in real time. Trusteer Pinpoint Verify receives the recommendation directly from Pinpoint Detect and allows to step up the authentication when required. IBM Trusteer has been in the market since 2006. It was acquired by IBM in 2013, and since then, over 500 organizations have been trusting us to help stop fraud and from exploiting their online applications. We understand that the user experience and convenience is as important to your organization as its security. Therefore, IBM Trusteer has been designed to be completely transparent to the end user and will run in the background with no change to the customer lifecycle. By leveraging machine learning and AI, IBM Trusteer has been so far successfully assessing over 40 billion applications accesses for over 1 billion users every single month. Remember that most of the users are good users and deserve a good online experience. Why punish them because of the bad actions of a few? Thank you. Please feel free to reach out to us for more in-depth session on IBM counter fraud solutions and IBM Trusteer. Thank you.